Hello friends, and welcome to another day of Crochet and Crime. My name is Hazy Baby, and I crochet while talking about crime. I know, the name is a dead giveaway. I mean, seriously. Anyway, today is Wednesday. It is the 10th of May, 2023. And I would like to welcome you in. Welcome. If you are new to my channel, please like and subscribe. If you super duper love me and you think I'm fantastic, please share and like and subscribe. If you would like to win a blanket, one of my lovely creations, this is Raymond. Isn't he beautiful? And he's not finished yet. Here's my crochet along, which I will be doing today because I haven't done it for a couple of days. And once I have 1,000 subscribers over on YouTube, I will be drawing him out and giving him away to one lucky subscriber who comments. You have to comment on my videos as well so I can put you in the list. Otherwise, I just don't see you be at it. So, there's still plenty of spaces left. I haven't even reached the 200 mark yet. For people who have been following me this whole month and a bit. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And let's get this day started. Okie dokie, artichoke. As you can see, I'm still working on Lillian. Isn't she beautiful? I'm particularly in love with this stitch. And for those of you who asked how I did it, I don't know. I just did it. It just magically makes itself beautiful. That's a lie. I work really hard to make these blankets beautiful, but I really can't give you a pattern because I honestly just make shit up in my head as I go along. And I'm doing a crochet along if you would like to watch my process. Like I said, his name is Raymond, and you can have a chance to win him. All you have to do is like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and then write a comment in one of my videos. Doesn't matter which one, it can be this one. I don't care. Just one of them so that I can pop your name down on a list. Because when people subscribe, at least then I know that you're actually looking at my content and you're not just subscribing to win a free blanket. I want you to engage with it, guys. Engage with it. Okie dokie. So, this is my brand new corner. Isn't she beautiful? Let's start this day off. Let's get this cab over on a rank. So, I've got a few stories for us today. Some of them are great stories, some of them not so great, some of them are long, some of them are short. And this first one is short. A man has been charged after allegedly following and assaulting an e-scooter driver in Melbourne's east. So a man's been charged after he allegedly assaulted an e-scooter rider in a road rage incident in Melbourne's east last week. So police alleged that the 18-year-old man followed the e-scooter rider who was travelling near the Normandy Road underpass in Maryville at about 4:30 p.m. Driving in a silver Volkswagen Jetta sedan, the 18-year-old and another man approached the rider allegedly holding a weapon. I mean, oh my God, you guys, so violent for no reason. Honestly. I mean, I've heard people rage over e-scooters before, but that's a bit extreme, don't you think? Sorry, I was just looking back to see if I actually did half doubles in this bit or single crochets across, and they were half doubles, guys. Half doubles. So police allege a bottle was thrown at the e-scooter rider who quickly fled the scene. The two men fled the scene in the sedan, and an 18-year-old Ferntree Gully man has since been arrested and charged with the affray. He was bailed but he was bailed to appear. He was bailed to appear. Okay, before Ringwood Magistrates Court on the 2nd of June. So he's been put on bail, basically. This person's a terrible writer. What are you doing? Police continue to investigate the incident. So basically, some knob jockey and his friend thought that it would be funny to attack a man on an e-scooter just for shits and gigs, and then throw a bottle at him when he didn't give them the rise that they wanted, then flee the scene like cowards. So I honestly hope that they get a sentence of some sort to reflect abusing people for no fucking reason. Not that there is ever a reason you should abuse anybody. Like, just get over it. Oh my God. Don't know why I'm using that voice today, but I am. Alrighty, so this very next story is out of Texas. So it's not actually in Australia, but I thought, some international news would be nice every now and then. So a driver in a deadly Texas bus stop crash has been charged with manslaughter. So the driver of the SUV that killed 8 people when it slammed into a bus stop in Brownsville, Texas, has been charged with manslaughter. Good. Police say an investigation has determined that the crash was intentional. So he intentionally saw people waiting at a bus stop and was like, "Oh, today, demon, today I shall let you in and we shall kill these people." I shouldn't make light of that. That wasn't hilarious. But I wasn't making light of the victims. I was making light of the fucktardery of this man. So authorities believe that driver George Alvarez, 34, from Brownsville. It's funny because he's brown and he lives in a place called Brownsville. Lost control after running a red light on a Sunday morning and then plowed into a crowd of Venezuelans outside a migrant center. You racist ass. You know what? Somebody needs Jesus, and it shows. 2, did I do 2 on the other end? Let me see. Yes, I did. So through here, and then through here for the popcorn stitchies. Boop. So I'm going to make that a tulip next Wayne round. Next Wayne round. It's kind of like Way Round, but, more John Wayne-y. So the police chief of Sussex said that Alvarez has been charged with 8 counts of manslaughter and 10 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Officials are waiting for toxicology reports to determine whether Alvarez was intoxicated, adding that there was no motive that he could discuss. The SUV ran a red light, lost control, flipped on its side, and then struck 18 people. That was said on a news conference on Monday, well, Australia here really, and 6 people died at the scene and 12 people were critically injured, he said, and officials have said that the deaths toll later rose to a total of 8 people. So 8 people died. I don't know how they can say it was intentional. I mean, he did run the red light. That was obviously intentional. But I don't think the hitting the people at the bus stop didn't seem intentional. I mean, his car flipped and everything. So, and SUVs are prone to flipping. Not that I'm saying that that's a good enough reason, and it's probably why he got manslaughter charges instead of murder charges, because, a 10-ton vehicle is probably, well, it's not 10 tons, but it's heavy. A deadly weapon, considered a deadly weapon. So, but yeah, definitely, 100%. Strange. And let's hope he wasn't intoxicated or anything at the time and he was just an idiot who did idiot things. I don't know if that's better or worse to die because someone's an idiot. Anyway, so Alvarez tried to flee because he's a coward, but he was held down by several people at the scene. His bail was set at $3.6 million. And victims struck by the vehicle were waiting from the bus stop at downtown Brownsville after spending the night at an overnight shelter. Aww. So Sister Norma Pembleton, Executive Director of the Catholic Charities of Rio Grande Valley. Most of the victims were Vietnamese men. Shelter Director Victor Mirando said that Brownsville has seen a surge of Vietnamese migrants over the last 2 years for unclear reasons, they said. On Thursday, 4,000 of the about 6,000 migrants in the border control custody in Texas Rio Grande Valley were Vietnamese. Police retrieved a blood sample and sent to the Texas Department of Public Safety to test for intoxicants. So like I said, let's hope he wasn't on drugs and alcohol as well, because that would just pile it on. And I feel sad for the nun who died. No good deed goes unpunished and all that jazz. It's kind of bullshit, isn't it? It's kind of a little bullshit. Alrighty, so let's move on to our next story. Our next story is about is a funeral which has been held for allegedly murdered Darwin student as man faces court. So let us talk about that. So there is a funeral happening at the same time as this man is facing court. His victim is being buried, basically. So, Morning and Life cut short. About 100 people have farewelled student MD Shafat Rakem, 23, just days after he was allegedly murdered in his own home. So this is the story that I was telling you guys the other day about that student who was just minding his own business in his own home, and then someone murdered him in his bed. So mourners have gathered at the Darwin Mosque as his coffin, which was draped with green and gold blanket, was carried out. The Charles Darwin University Vice-Chancellor Scott Bowman paid tribute to the student from Bangladesh. He recalled him as a vibrant, smiling, excited young man of 23 years, with the world ahead of him, and now he leaves us in a box, and it's heartbreaking. And I agree, Bangladesh and any student really coming from overseas should feel like Australia is a safe place to be, because it should be. And so I'm very severely disappointed and disgusted. So he arrived at Darwin just 3 months ago to study his master's in IT, and he was asleep in his home in Milliner in the city last Wednesday when he was allegedly brutally assaulted, and he succumbed to his injuries. He later died at the Royal Darwin Hospital. The alleged perpetrator, Brendan Cantilla, faced Darwin local court today for the first time, charged with the murder, aggravated burglary, and theft. He was remanded to custody to return to court in early July. Despite the alleged offender being behind bars, the fear among the Bangladeshi community is unwavering. I've been sleeping with a knife on my bedside table. I've been in Australia for 9 years and I've never been thinking of doing something like this, said one Bangladeshi student. A member of the Bangladesh Student Association, 3 other men who lived with Shafat, also studying at Charles Darwin University accommodation, are too scared to return to the home, which is, fair. They're traumatized. They left their accommodation because they just can't go back, and I don't disagree with them. I couldn't either. It's just so sad, guys. His aunt and uncle have made the journey over to be with him, and the tribute concert in his memory and for international students is being held at Charles Darwin University. So it's good that the universities do something on campus on Saturday, with the funds raised to go to his memorial fund, so to help his family pay for his body to be shipped home. It's just absolutely devastating. Okie dokie. Let's move on, shall we? So this next story is about rape. So I will put the caveat in there that I am going to be talking about rape, and I feel very passionate about this subject. I feel very passionate about talking about this subject. If this is something that you don't like to hear, then please scroll on. However, I believe that we should give victims a voice, and so I will be reading about it. And I won't stop reading about these stories until people get the idea that it's just not okay. So a woman sobs after she describes her alleged rape. I hate that word. After working as a FIFO, and waking to a FIFO colleague on top of her. So the BHP worker says that she woke up to find a colleague raping her after a night of heavy drinking at a mining camp in Western Australia. So the woman has accused Ryan Jong Zabaznau who is 37, of sexually assaulting her after she passed out inside of her donga in the Newman on November 18th of 2020. He denies it, and he told the court in Perth on Monday that the sex was consensual. Okay. Let me have a little story to tell you about consent. And it's an important story to tell you about consent. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again, and I'll say it until I'm blue in the face and it actually is coming across. You cannot consent if you are drunk. A drunken yes is still a no, for this very reason. And when I say that, I mean that on both sides. You can't drink and drive, so you shouldn't be having sex and driving. You can't consent if you do not have the mental capacity to recognize what is happening and what is going on. Therefore, nobody, and I mean nobody, should be having sex or sexual intercourse or any kind of thing that involves consent inebriated, because anything that ruins your frontal cortex reasoning is not okay to do. So yeah, that is my reason. That is why I'm sticking to it. And so a drunken yes is still a no, and you can't drink and drive, so don't fucking drive. A comment proudly brought to you by Hazy Baby. Seriously though, don't do it, guys. Let's move back onto it. Like I said, he was denying it, saying that it was consensual, and it can't be consensual because he was drunk and she was drunk. So therefore, there is no consent. Alrighty, so the woman who cannot be named for legal reasons disagrees, as do I. I remember waking up with Ryan over the top of me, even if she did consent when she was awake, guys. Like I said, she was drunk. And even if we just ignore that fact, she was asleep. You can't consent if you're not conscious. She said in the witness box for the first day of her trial against the sexual penetration without consent. He was penetrating me, but I really wasn't sure what was happening because, half conscious. The woman said that she'd been stripped naked from the waist down and his body felt like a cement slab on top of her. I remember him saying how sexy I was, she said, wiping her tears away. He had one hand on the side of my head and the other on my hip, thrusting his body. She said that she was crying during the incident and didn't know whether to scream or yell. Yep, it's called fight, fright, or freeze, and obviously she was frightened and frozen. I didn't let him see. I thought, don't let him see you're upset, so I just cried as quietly as I could. I can appreciate that because she was probably scared for her life at that point. The court heard the pair had been at the camp bar and a wet mess earlier in the night and continued socialising with colleagues after it closed. Zabau joined the woman in the room with other co-workers after messaging her on Facebook. The pair went back to the woman's room with the other colleagues after security guards moved them on for being too noisy. As the night wore on, the woman, who said she was drunk about 50 and she drank about 15 mid-strength beers, started to feel unwell. Yeah, because that's too many beers, love. Too many beers. A friend helped her put her to bed after she vomited, while Zabau and another man sat outside and continued drinking. After a woman's friend left, Zabau allegedly entered the drunk woman's room where she was passed out and climbed into bed with her. She was awoken by a knock at the door after her friend returned to check that she was okay and found the pair in bed together. The court heard the woman told her friend the sex wasn't consensual and the friend confronted Zabau with his alleged actions. So she said it right there and then. But Zabau's lawyer, Helen, oh, come on, Helen. I don't know how you can anyway, it doesn't matter, said that the social media messages sent the morning after the alleged rape told a different story. It's all good. My friend was just concerned because of the state I was in when she put me to bed. The woman allegedly wrote in a reply to Sabao now. You're not a cunt, it's all good, is what she wrote in a text message. That does not mean that she wasn't raped. That means that she was trying to minimize what had happened to her in her own head so that she wouldn't be traumatized, or she was trying to tell herself that it was consensual so that she could deny the fact that she had been raped the night before, guys. And anyone who's ever been a victim or knows a victim will know that that is exactly what she was doing. Exactly, 100%. She was trying to either minimize what had happened so she could pretend it didn't happen, or she was distancing herself from the situation, or she was worried that she was going to aggravate him and then there would be a repeat of the previous night. So she was trying to distance herself. I'm not a psychology major, although I do have a Bachelor of Social Work, and I am very interested. My master's is in trauma and memory, so I do like to talk about that kind of stuff, and education. So all of this kind of thing is right up my alley, and I'm a huge advocate for victims' voice. If you guys have heard me before, you will know this, and you would have heard my opinions on it are quite strong. And so stories like this really grind my gears and get on my goat, because the legal system is not set up to support victims. It's set up so that it supports whoever fucking has the money, which pisses me off. They were just worried about me because I was going through a lot. Yeah, and she left you in a state in which you were super duper drunk, and she was just coming back to make sure that you were okay. And turns out she had every reason to be worried, because good old Zabao now just decided that that would be a fantastic time to take his pants off and your pants off and sexually assault you. So he messaged back saying he wasn't the person he was being accused of being. He is. She was drunk. The woman also allegedly told a supervisor the sex wasn't consensual, and the trial continues. That was a big mouthful, and I went on a little bit of a rant, and I apologize in advance. No, fuck that. I don't apologize. I take it back. I'm not apologizing. I'm so sick of it. I shouldn't apologize for who we are and what we believe. And this is just my opinion. And if my opinion hurts you and your preciousness, then move on. Then just move on. And for anyone who is sitting there thinking, yeah, but she just regretted it the next morning, so that's why she's saying it wasn't consensual. Nah, motherfucker. She said when her friend came back that it wasn't consensual. She said in front of him that it wasn't consensual. She had tears streaming down her face while they were having sex. Did he think he was just that good that she was crying joyous tears? Fuck no. He knows exactly what he's done. And the truth of the matter is that consent is kind of like one of those things where you shouldn't have to verbally say no, stop, for a person to figure it out. Because body language is a form of language. And if someone is stiffened underneath you or is unconscious when you start, they cannot consent. So no, I don't apologize. In fact, I'm just going to stay right here on my high horse and say someone needs to be the advocate for these poor fucking women who keep getting treated like absolute dog shit. And their text messages and what they do after they are assaulted is put forward in light of everything. Like we should feel sorry for him because she the next day told him don't worry about it. Yeah, because she was traumatized. Anyway, I shall move on before I get too passionate and lose my shit even more. Okie dokie. So yesterday I read a story about a vigilante martial arts business owner who stupidly put forward a give me a second, sorry, I bent down too far. Who put forward a reward to get a $5,000 reward in this current climate where no one has any money. To get he'd been burgled and he was trying to get his shit back, basically. Anyway, and so he put it up on Facebook, and then hundreds of people showed up. I'm using, this one is alpaca and it's fig pink. and it is this lovely color. I'll come back to the other story in a second. I just want to share this with you guys. So this is actually a 4-ply. And so when I get a 4-ply, I tend to get double the amount and make it into an 8-ply. And I know that that means it's going to be just a little bit expensive. So I pull from the middle, because if you pull from the middle, you'll be able to wind the 2 as you go, finding the end. So anyone who asks me what wools I use a varied of different mediums. The reason I do that is because every type of wool or every type of yarn gives a different effect. And if you use the same yarn, I kind of like, it's okay, like, don't get me wrong, but I like the consistency and the sort of different effects every different yarn gives. So alpaca wool is going to give a different effect to, say, acrylic. And acrylic is going to give a different effect to, say, the glitter wool. The only thing I don't mix in together is I try and keep the same amount of ply. So like I said, this is a 4-ply, so I'm going to wrap this together and it will become an 8-ply. And I'll start in the corner I just finished in because I can. And I like to do, no, sorry, I don't want to start in that corner. I like to do the different kinds of wool because if you actually have a quick look at this, you'll see that this is different to this one, and that's different to this one, and that's different to this one. And all of these stitches, so all those are exactly the same stitch. But if you look a little bit closer, I'm not sure if you can see on camera, but they all give a different shape, a different size because of the wool, because the needle is exactly the same. The hook is exactly the same. The stitch is exactly the same. It's just the wool that's different. So depending on what I want out of it will depend on what medium I use. Now this blanket, her name is Lillian, like I said. I am making her for a client. That client happens to be my mum. So I would like, and yes, she is paying for it. So I would like the blanket to be nice and soft and beautiful because it's Mother's Day coming up, and I really would like to show her that I love her by making her this beautiful blanket. Plus that's what she asked for, so that is what she'll get. A nice, soft, huggable, lovable, enjoyable blanket. That's what I'm giving her. Alrighty, so let's move on to this vigilante. It's kind of like a vigilante, but with vegetables. Just make shit up as I go along now. Alrighty, so just need to get into this corner so I can decide what it is I'm going to do when I get there. Because I'll see you when you get there, if you ever get there. And then I'm going to go around the front. Yeah, that will look cool. Ta-da! Da-da-da-da-da-da. And then I'm just going to go half doubles all the way across. Half doubles all the way across. Okay. So as you can see now that that's got, oops, I think I did that off camera. I'm so sorry. Now that's got, you can't even tell. You can't even tell that that's 2 different wools that I've weaved together. So what I'm doing is, for those of you following at home and who do crochet, if you find a really good wool and you can only find it in, say, 4-ply, like a light ply, you can use them because as long as it's wool or it has some sort of wool in it, they'll wind together quite nicely. And so what I do is I wrap it around my finger and I wind them together as I go. So when I'm crocheting, as I go along, it's not going to be 2 separate strands. It's going to be this nice little woven strand as we go along. And just try and keep them that same tension. And it will be that nice little weave. See? Nice little weave is happening. Anyway, that's what's happening at the back while I'm talking. So let's move back on to this vigilante story. And that's why I have this Crochet and Crime, because I crochet and I talk about crime. So community leaders are calling to calm in Queensland after amid fears that a vigilante tension will boil over. So basically, a man put out a $5,000 reward, And that $5,000 reward he was giving out so that he could get his stuff back. So that made, in this current climate in North Queensland, where a lot of people are very broke and the cost of living is ridiculous, and it is ridiculous everywhere in Australia, but North Queensland and places that are quite deserted are finding it even more difficult. The cost of living is ridiculous. Anyway, long story short, a whole bunch of people turned up at this kid's house. Yes, a child. They turned up at this kid's house. If you go listen to yesterday's one, and there was way too many people there and not enough police, and yeah, it was never going to end well. So angry locals say they continue to confront the alleged youth criminals despite warnings and the perimeter that the police and the commission have put in place. So I feel like that's disgusting. I feel like if you're a parent, you should just wonder what those poor kids would be feeling like. Now, I get it. They stole someone's stuff. They did very bad things. I'm not saying they should get away with it, but I am saying that I don't think scaring them with like half the feckin' town chasing them is gonna prove anything to anyone. Except for that, you're a jerk. Other than that. So businessman and former One Nation candidate, sorry, any Australian out there who's watching this, One Nation, seriously, do I have to say any more? Torin O'Brien led the group after his sister's home was broken into. He posted on social media asking for the address of the alleged culprits, so they don't even know if it was them who did it. I posted on Facebook and I was going to get my family stuff back, and a couple of hundred people came with me. A couple hundred people. Yes, you heard that correctly. You go and tell the police that you've lost your loved one's stuff and recently just let the police do the policing. How would you feel about it? Because they just laugh at you. Outnumbered by officers formed a blockade around the house on Sunday to stop the group, which came from a rally in Central Park as everyone just like lost their tiny minds. Video showed the protesters calling out criticisms to the police. And Capricorn Police Superintendent Glenn Pointing said that such actions only left the town more vulnerable because there were so many officers at this blockade instead of being able to do their fecking job. So, genius plan there, Barry. Anyway, Police Commissioner Catherine Carroll, good old Carroll, warned that we'll end up in a death. And I agree. It will end up, someone will get hurt. And someone will get hurt that was innocent, because it's usually what happens is that innocent people who did nothing wrong will be injured or hurt. And so I just call to people to have some fucking common sense. I know I'm swearing a lot today, and I apologize because I try not to swear too much on these videos because I don't want to get demonetized. But since I'm not making any money at the moment, I can swear all I like. So yeah, and if you don't like it, you can just jog on. Jog on, friends, jog on. So good old Anastasia Palaszczuk, good old Anastasia, has come forward to urge people to not take the law into their own hands, and I agree, don't, guys. It's just not worth it, honestly. Plus, you have no way of proving that that child was the child that stole stuff from you. Like, I know you're upset, your family's house was broken into, you lost your shit, but in the end, it's just stuff. Get over it. And everyone's like, well, you clearly have never had anything stolen. It's the invasion of privacy that hurts. And I agree. It is the invasion of privacy that hurts. And yes, I have been broken into before. But guess what? My life is more important. And I don't actually care that they took my stuff because I'm insured. And if they really badly wanted it that bad that they broke into my house to get it, then they can have it. But on all honesty, good luck. I have 2 giant dogs and they will eat you alive. Honestly though, if anyone did break into my house and then tried to sue me because my dogs bit them, that would be probably where I would draw the line, because that's happened up here where like people have like broken into other people's houses, their dog has bitten them, and then they tried to get their dog put down. Like, damn bitch, you broke into my house, this is his house and you broke in, therefore you can just right off, sit right down. Let your mind roll on. Everybody's talking about a new way of walking, and all these people lost their mind. Anyway, let's move on from that story about vigilantes onto something else, shall we? No, I wouldn't say something bright and shiny because I'm a crime channel and there is no bright and shiny unless you're talking about spotlights. What? So let's move on, shall we? Let's move on to something else. Okay, so a man has been shot dead through a windshield of a stolen BMW after a crash. Nope, a chase in Melbourne. You're welcome. Dyslexia at your service. So just give me a wee second. I really love this plum colour. How nice is it? What do you think? Oh my goodness, I just realised that my camera is facing away, and how much of this video have I been just like over here in the corner? That's me in the corner. Oh, I apologise. It's like half this video like over here. Let's hope you guys can still see everything. Hopefully I can just zoom in and edit it a little bit later. Be helpful if I have had the camera facing the correct way, or at least checked it. That's what happens when you're too busy reading. Okay, so let me tell you about a man named Jed. He's not Jed. So 3 men are on the run after a man was shot dead in an alleged stolen car in Melbourne's northwest overnight. So police said one of the men was driving a stolen BMW sedan when a shot was fired through the front windscreen into the upper body of his passenger, Taylor Hill. Oh no, Tay-Tay. The driver called 000 for assistance before fleeing the scene on foot at 11:30 p.m. So I wonder who shot them. So police believe the stolen BMW sedan was being pursued, there we go, by another car, a white Mitsubishi Lancer, before the alleged shooting. Yes, I know I just said Lancer. I say dance as well. Get over it. The Mitsubishi then crashed into a number of bollards on Grange Terrace before the BMW pulled in behind them. The driver of the white Lancer has gotten out of the vehicle with the firearm and shot through the front windscreen of the black BMW, Detective Acting Inspector Nigel said. Oh, Nigel. Nigel's got no friends. It's because you're an inspector, Nigel. The BMW took off and 2 of the drivers of the Mitsubishi have left on foot. That is the shooter and his passenger. They then spoke with the residents and asked how to get directions out of the area. Awesome. I like how they just shoot someone cold and then just piss up. The BMW is believed to be driven to Vallaclose Boulevard, where the driver contacted 000. Ambulance crews treated the man, who is still to be identified at the scene, but he died. He succumbed to his injuries. L. Strange said, that's the detective, while police were yet to establish the exact circumstances surrounding the shooting, they believe that the parties are known to each other and it wasn't a random attack, so no one should be worried they're going to get shot through their front windshield. It was not a random attack, is what they have reiterated twice. Anyone who witnessed the incident or has any further information are urged to contact police on 1-800-333-000, which is Crime Stoppers. So 1-800-4-plumber, plumber to your door. Stupid radio. Free advertising for that 1-800-4-plumber. So if you live in like North Queensland, call that number. Why not? It's stuck in my head. They deserve it. It's living rent free. It's living rent free up there, guys. Just rent free. Okie dokie, so I'm moving on to another murder story. Lots of murder today. So murder charged after a man stabbed while walking home from his wife's birthday celebration. So a Victorian man charged with the murder after an incident outside of pub was on bail for unrelated matters at the time, a court heard yesterday. So Spencer Shumsky, 20, faced Sale Magistrates Court on Monday after being charged with the murder of 38-year-old Clint Allen. Allen was allegedly stabbed to death outside of the town's hotel as he was walking home from celebrating his wife's birthday. So that's super sad. Police were called to the hotel near the intersection of York and McAllister Street. I'm not going to name the hotel because I don't think they want that. After about 1 a.m. yesterday, after receiving reports, a man had been stabbed following an altercation. Officers gave Allen first aid until the ambulance crews arrived. And he died at the scene, which is absolutely super duper sad. On Monday, the magistrate revokes Shamsky's bail, which was for a separate matter. His lawyer told the court the only custody management related issues to his age and that Szymanski's first time in custody. So that sucks. That sucks that he was on bail, and it sucks that he killed someone. That's really, really sucky, and I feel really sad for his wife. She will never, ever, ever, ever be able to celebrate her birthday ever again. How sad is that? Super duper sad. Okie dokie, artichoke. Let's move on to our next one. Our next one is a man has been sentenced after dad fatally shot in home invasion by men in menacing Halloween masks. There's so much shootings happening at the moment. I'm actually getting a little bit worried. Why have I got so many shootings happening in Australia? What's going on, guys? What's going on? See how it's got that lovely twisted? It just looks lovely. It's just twisted like me. So during a morning shower, a 40-year-old man first heard smashing and banging. So then he saw a masked intruder with a hammer in the bathroom. Moments later, he was struck in the head with the weapon during a home invasion in which another man was fatally shot near his 13-year-old daughter. Beau Edward Cunningham and James Patton were among 4 people who broke into Michelle Mendez's residence in October of 2019 to recover a drug debt. Drugs are bad, guys. Drugs are bad. They were armed and wearing menacing, quote unquote, Halloween masks in an early morning attack in South Brisbane. So Cunningham, who had a machete, kicked in the bathroom door before Patton confronted Menzies' 40-year-old housemate. So, 40-year-old housemate when you have a daughter? That's creepy. So he threw zip ties at the housemate and told him to put them on. When the 40-year-old got out of the shower and refused, he hit him in the forehead with a hammer. Ow, that would have hurt. The bleeding housemate punched Patton, who stumbled back before swimming the hammer again, but missing him. The intruders began fleeing after Menzel, who was 48, and was shot by the co-offender. North. Menzel's daughter was awoken by the front door being kicked in before seeing intruders in the house, is what she told the court on Monday. One intruder took her phone and her tablet before the 13-year-old heard gunfire and her father scream. After the intruders fled, the girl found Menzel in a pool of blood. He was treated at the scene for about an hour by paramedics, but died from a gunshot wound in his thigh. So they must have got an artery. Days before the attack, a co-offender had a confrontation with Menzel over a drug debt. He was made to feel like a goose, Crown Prosecutor David Nundell said. As a result, the co-offender allegedly planned to go to Menzel's house and take money and drugs. Masks and equipment to restrain people were brought with them. So I'm not sure who owed whom, but as you can tell, drugs are bad. Just don't get caught up in drugs. drug debts, drug anything. Just stop. Just stop. Stop with the drugs, guys. Legal ones or non-legal ones. Just stop. Stop taking them. Stop. Unless they're for mental health. And continue to take them because there's a reason that you are on them. Okay, so a ute and registration plate were also stolen from the home invasion plan. On the drive of Menzies' house, the co-offender allegedly gave directions to another 4, including Cunningham and Patton, order them to give gloves and ski masks. Okay, well done. The co-offender had a shotgun when he kicked in the front door, and he failed. And then the other guy didn't fail, obviously. Alrighty, as you can see, what has happened is I've gotten this weird loop that has happened, and it sometimes happens. It's just a knot. So I'm just going to undo it. I'm going to go back far enough and pop the needle in so that we don't lose our too many more stitches. And we're just going to find that knot. And this is it. So as you can see, a little bit of wool had gotten stuck. And because it's alpaca, that will happen. So just pay attention to what you're doing, and don't worry, if we had gotten back around in another stitch and seen it, we could have easily hidden it with a stitch. So it's no big deal. So Cunningham was sentenced to almost 10 years in jail by the Justice Sean Cooper. He received 8.5 years for charges related to the home invasion, with another 16 months for separate drug offences. He's eligible for parole in October. The other offender received 5 years in jail and a suspension of 5 years. Both spent more than 3.5 years pre-sentence custody, which was declared in time served, so they got credit for those times. And I feel like they should have gotten longer because he was actually murdered, but okay, 16 years, not that much. Not that much at all. Okie dokie. Read that one yesterday. Alrighty, let's go to the US again, just because it's I need a little bit of change from my own backyard for a minute. So a US man has been sentenced to life in prison for killing a girlfriend over, wait for it, $53. Yup. Killed her over $53. That's how much her life was worth. So a man in Louisiana has pled guilty to shooting his girlfriend dead in front of her daughter because she wouldn't give him $53 Australian. So that was actually 36 in the US, so even less. So Brian Clay, 47, pled guilty to second-degree murder, armed criminal action, and first-degree robbery and unlawful possession of a firearm. The shooting happened in a small town of Jennings on June 13th in 2018. Authorities say Clay and Laurel Good's 14-year-old daughter were sitting in the car when Clay shot Good. Nice. She didn't deserve to die like this, and I agree. She didn't deserve to die for, like, what was it, a couple of fucking cents? $36. Wow. And here I am worried about food money. Okay, so police say that he shot her because she refused to drive him to a pawn shop and give him the money to get his TV back. He killed her for a TV, guys. That is so fucking sad. And yes, it deserves the swearing because it is just that sad. It's just that sad. It deserves for me to swear some more. Why not? In for a penny, in for a pound. Okay, I've had enough of that one. Oh, a drug lab. Who wants to hear about drug lab? Me. I want to hear about drug lab. So, 2 men have been charged after a major drug lab was uncovered in Sydney's south. How cool. I love drugs. Well, no, I love stories about drugs. I don't actually love drugs. Drugs are bad, okay? They're very bad. Stop. Just stop. So 2 men have been charged after police raided a major drug lab in Sydney's south, finding hundreds of kilos of drug materials and about $200,000 in cash. So they were just going to make the drugs because they just found all of the ingredients to make the drugs. Anyway, so specialist police stormed the Gladstone Cladstein Laboratory at a property in Haring Street in Colonel at about 5 p.m. on Thursday after months of investigations in a drug case. So, 2 men aged 56 and 29 were arrested at the scene and taken to Sutherland Police Station. Suckers. Idiots. About 6 kilograms of MDMA and more than 100 kilograms of drug and precursor chemicals, so stuff to make meth, were found, alongside hundreds of pieces of lab equipment inside a shed at the back of the property. They're lucky they didn't blow themselves up. Almost $200,000 in cash was also found, and the older man was charged with manufacturing of a large commercial quantity of a prohibited drug. Ah, Jesus, I swear lawyers and frickin' police, they just love these long-ass titles. Stop. It's bullshit. I don't like it. I don't like it. My shopping trolley's murdered. My groceries all gone, speaking of One Nation. Alrighty, so the younger man was charged with taking part of the manufacture of a large commercial quantity of prohibited drugs. Both men were refused bail in the Sutherland local court and are next due to appear in the Darling Centre local court in July. Anyone with any information about the supply and manufacturing of illicit drugs is urged to contact police. Trust me, if anyone knows anything about drugs, they ain't watching my YouTube channel. That's for sure. They high as a motherfucker, sitting on a couch. But they ain't watching me. And if they are, now they're paranoid that I'm watching you. Yeah, I saw you. I saw you take your drugs. Put them down. That's it. That's it. Step away. Step away. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me. No more drugs. They're bad. Okay? Okay. All right, let's move on. Okay, let's go back to murder. I know, you guys are just like, yay, we want more murder, Hazy. And I'm like, I've got you, boo. I've got you. This is a nice short one, though. The homicide squad investigating after a man was fatally stabbed in North Queensland. So the homicide investigation is underway after a man, like I said, was stately fabbed. I'm stately fabulous? No, stabbed fatally. Jesus. In North Queensland overnight, so a man in his 50s was found with stab wounds in his back. Oh, they stabbed him in the back. Brutal. When police arrived at a White Rock address at about 1:30 a.m, emergency services tried to treat him, but he was declared dead at the scene. The property had been ruled a crime scene, and the man is in his 60s, is speaking to detectives who are investigating the death. So, 2 old men got up in the middle of the night. And they faced each other, and they had a fight. I've got no idea. I'm just making shit up. I've got no idea what happened. Honestly. I don't know. I'm just reading this story. I'm not sure if it is the same story as before. Maybe. Okay, so I didn't want to see my dad be shot, is what a daughter has said, as she watched in horror as a gun allegedly held to her father's head during a break-in. So that's terrifying. A father from Perth says that he had a gun held to his head. Okay, so it's definitely not the other case because that guy died, but this guy is alive to talk about it. In front of his family during an alleged armed robbery. So Matthew DeCampi, what a cool name, DeCampi. My name is DeCampi. Says his house in Kemscott, Perth, was ambushed by 4 hooded thieves. Oh, hooded thieves. They are the merry men of Perth. On Monday night, who were allegedly armed with a gun. DeCampi says he heard banging at the door before the group allegedly broke in and smashed a window. They broke in and then smashed a window? It's kind of weird. I didn't answer it, and the next minute they were banging on the window, and then it was smashed. Okay, so they didn't let him in. That's good. Next minute, I got my gun in my hand, asking for... Next minute, I've got a gun at my head, asking for my keys. DeCampi said that he felt the gun at his head. All he could do was think of his daughter and his pregnant wife. So I handed them the keys. Yeah, good. Because no vehicle is worth your life. Just saying. Just give them the goddamn keys. Just give them whatever they want. They want keys? Have keys. They want me to make them a lasagna? I'll make you a lasagna. Just don't shoot anyone. His 14-year-old daughter, Casey, witnessed the whole incident and called 000. Good girl. While his wife hid in the kitchen. Also good girl. Because, you know, he would want that. Oh, there's a picture of her crying. Don't show me that. That's too sad. The alleged robbers left into Campy's Commodore. Of course it was a Commodore. And every other set of car keys and house keys, according to Campy, because he took, like, everything. They took all the keys. The family immediately moved out of their home today following the incident, worried that the alleged thieves would return and hijack the sedan that they also had, and also, you know, fearful for their lives, which is, you know, fair, because they would have went to the police and then they would have been worried and all of that jazz. So, I mean, good man for not opening the door, but they smashed the window and got in anyway, which is sad. But always, guys, always, just give the thieves whatever they want. If they want money, give them money. If they want the keys to your car, give them the keys to your car. Like, honestly, it's not worth your life. It's just stuff. It's just stuff. And I have lost stuff many times. I was a child of poverty, so didn't have a lot of stuff to start with. House burned down when I was 15, so I lost all my stuff then. And then when I was an adult, our house was flooded and we lost all of our stuff. So I've also been robbed before. So it is just stuff, guys. It's just stuff, and you can get your stuff back. You can get more stupid stuff, and you can hoard as much crap as you like. But in the end, you can't get a life back. So, you know, your life is worth more than stuff. How many times did I say stuff in that sentence? Don't do a drinking game to that. Do not. I feel like you will die of poisoning. Alrighty, let's see if I have any stories left. I think I've got one more left, because I'm just going to get to this corner here. And then I am done for today, I think. So, wow, this is a cool story. So, over $1.8 million has been found in the boot of a car by Western Australian police. 1.8 million, guys, in the boot of a car. Give it to me. Oh, so many greenbacks. I've never seen so much green. So, over $1.8 million in cash have been seized from a boot in a car in Perth, in Western Australia. Police say that a 36-year-old man stashed over $1.8 million in cash inside a duffel bag and then placed it inside a suitcase. Oh, it's like babushka dolls. Officers found the suitcase in the boot of a rental car the man was driving on May 4th. And oh my God, guys, there's so many pineapples and so much green. So pretty. The man was allegedly trying to drive into eastern states of Western Australia with the cash when he was stopped by police on the Great Eastern Highway. He was arrested and taken to Perth, where he was charged with property laundering, which is pretty much money laundering. And the man will appear in Perth's Magistrate Court on June 16th. So let me get this straight. They just happened upon this guy on the highway, or were they chasing him to start with and just like stung him? I have so many extra questions that this article does not answer, and they are just some of them. And sometimes I get really upsetty spaghetti because I do a lot of research with these stories, guys, and I know that people be like, oh yeah, well, no one's asking you to do a YouTube channel. I know, no one's asking me to do a YouTube channel. I'm not complaining. I am a little bit, but I'm not really complaining. It's just that I do try and research as much of this stuff as possible, and sometimes the internet is full of fake news, so I'll go researching a little bit more. I was caught out the other day when I read out a story that said that a student had died from rat poisoning, and he wasn't actually dead. Thank you to my patron who told me that the article that I read was fake news, and ever since then I have been researching these stories as much as possible. However, when it comes to stories like this, the police will keep all of that stuff to themselves, and it's good stuff. But yeah, they'll keep it all to themselves, and I won't know any of it. So I just try and give as much information as possible, and some days I end up with more questions than I have answers. But that happens. That happens with big jobs. Alrighty, so they're my 2 rounds that I've done for today. I will obviously do more of Lillian off camera because I only have about 2 weeks to finish her, and she's going to be about a single bed size, so I need to get crack-a-lackin'. But as you can see, she's almost back a square. She's absolutely gorgeous, guys. I'm madly in love with her. I fall madly in love with all of my creations. Every single time I create something, I'm like, oh, I want to keep it. It's so pretty. But you can't keep everything. Back to that hoarder thing that I was saying before. And I really love this plum color. If you would like to purchase one of my lovely art creations in which I crochet while talking about crime and, you know, making you a beautiful piece of art, then please contact me. You can either do that via email or you can do it on here, or on TikTok. You can DM me. I will be opening up an Etsy store. I know I said that yesterday, but I have been researching into it and I will be opening up one very shortly. But yeah, so as soon as I do, I will put the link in the bio. I'll be making some bags and some really cool, cute stuff, some knitted shirts and things like that. That's where I'm going to go to. More in this same sort of style pattern that I do here, in this sort of boho, hippy-dippy, I'll do whatever I want kind of style. It's who I am. It's what I do. So I thank you very much for your time and your patience today, and I shall see you guys tomorrow. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Have a wonderful day.